This week, Meta, TikTok and YouTube face a landmark trial in LA over claims their platforms contribute to youth mental health issues as a 19-year-old woman seeks to hold them accountable for alleged addiction and its effects. For more, let's head to Queensland. We're joined by Dr. Karen Sutherland from the University of the Sunshine Coast. What are these allegations about against Meta, TikTok and YouTube?
This case in particular, the plaintiff is saying that social media platforms are designed to make users addicted to them, and therefore they have to stay on the platform. They feel like they have to stay on the platforms due to this addiction, meaning then they're also presented with the content on there that can cause distress and negatively impact their mental health. So I think in this case, they're not just focusing on the content per se, but they're looking at the features of social media platforms that cause this addiction.
So let's talk about the plaintiff. What are her actual claims regarding social media addiction?
She's saying that due to social media, her quality of life has diminished because she feels compelled to have her phone in her hand and be constantly checking and staying on the platforms. The addictive features on the platforms to make you stay so that you're constantly checking. They've put in features to try and stop that from happening. So you can choose whether you want to see if people are liking your posts and things like that. But it's that sort of instant gratification that comes from social media content and that constant checking that keep luring people back to stay on the platforms.
It's a fascinating concept, and that legal term. For example, after a mass shooting, could people sue the gun company and blame them for access to it? And if someone had pre-existing mental health conditions and constantly checking platforms, did it make it worse, or did they constantly check the platforms because of the mental health? There are so many questions here, and no doubt Meta's lawyers will be really looking into the previous mental health of the person involved, surely.
Oh, 100%. And this is the first sort of case of its kind. And what is the worrying thing for the platforms is that if she wins, then it's going to open the floodgates for more. But you can see the seriousness of the case and the allegations because Mark Zuckerberg is actually testifying in the case as well. It seems that Snap settled out of court before this, but the other platforms will be having their day in court to rebut the allegations.
Yeah. It's interesting if they're settling, as you say, about Snap, because there could be a flood of cases if that's the case.
I don't know the details of that. I'd be interested to see how they're going to do it, whether they're really going to dissect the different features of each platform and show how they are addictive. But again, each of the platforms has tried to put measures in place to stop that. It was a long time after they were there, but there's sort of parental controls, and TikTok, I think, has for younger users, it has a notification that comes up when they've been scrolling for too long and things like that. So there are measures in place, but I'm not sure how well they'll stand up in court. Yeah,
it's interesting as a test case as well for other lawsuits throughout the entire of the big tech world, because we are seeing Australia starting with the under-16 social media ban, and as students return to school for the first time after a summer of not using social media, it will be interesting to see the effect. It does feel like there is somewhat of a backlash, if not a war, against social media companies at the moment.
I think so. And I wonder if now there is enough data, because they have been around for quite a while now. And I think beforehand, people just accepted them for what they are. They didn't like them, but actually taking them to court was a level that no one really decided to take them up on. But I think now with the social media ban, there are other countries now looking to do the same thing. And it has made people question, or even maybe have the courage to finally stand up and hold these social media platforms to account.
All right, let's move on, because in a global shift spurred by artificial intelligence, the UK facing significant job losses, Australia balancing optimism with caution in its AI adoption as well, highlighting stark contrasts in the labour market's evolving landscape. There is so much obviously happening here when we talk about the market and AI, and some governments saying, look, needs to happen, things are going to happen. I look at it from the perspective of the Industrial Revolution began in the 1700s, but it never truly ended. It just keeps evolving, and this is another part of that evolution.
Yeah, I totally agree. And so this was a study of 935 companies from a range of countries. And yes, so it shows that some countries are more advanced in the adoption and complete sort of integration of AI in their workflows and operationally more than others. So the UK has already started cutting jobs. They said it was about 8% of more entry-level and mid-range jobs, whereas Australia isn't anywhere near that. yet. And there's only about 12% of Australian companies in the study that were even using AI in a particularly big way. So we can see the differences there. Not to say that we won't catch up, but yeah, adoption at this stage in Australia is still quite low compared to other parts of the world.
Yeah, exactly. So talk to us about how AI is actually impacting markets differently in the UK and in Australia. As you mentioned, there seems to be a lot of talk about an impact, but are we actually seeing it in the numbers?
Look, I don't think so as in Australia, but I have seen other studies in the US. And I think one of the major issues that I've seen coming out of the US is that graduating college students are having a really hard time finding that first job, because a lot of those entry-level roles, even with a degree, are being reduced because of AI. People are using AI for those sort of more lower-level tasks and administrative tasks rather than hiring someone new and training them up to move them through the ranks. And while in the US, AI is used a lot more than in Australia and the UK, I think that it won't be long before it will trickle down here as well once people adopt it more and can see what it can do. It will never replace people, but the worry is that those working your way up into a company is going to be very difficult now, I think, with AI if you're not given that first chance to start.
Which industries are actually in focus here when it came to Morgan Stanley's study on AI's impact? Which are the industries that are most likely to be affected at the moment?
Legal's a big one. It seems to be those industries where there's a lot of, I guess, large quantities of data analysis is being used, AI is being used to make that a faster process. When there's a need for a lot of personalization and customization at scale, AI is being used for that as well. What I'm finding in the communication industry, so strategic comms, it's very slow and people are still a bit hesitant to use it in a big way. They're using it for certain tasks and not others, but a lot of it is around that data analysis and really, I guess, saving time by using it for drafting and things like that, brainstorming, those sorts of tasks.
Yeah, fascinating times ahead for the job market. Appreciate your insights as always. Dr. Karen Sutherland there from the University of the Sunshine Coast. Thank you.